You know what's a very human nature thing? To deny when things are really bad, when things are going poorly, when the ship's going down. It's human nature thing to say, we'll fix it, we're going to deny it. And we do this really a lot with the state of our country right now. You know, we have this election coming up and we're hopeful that we're going to have a big night and Trump's going to win and we're going to turn this thing around. But we talk about what will happen if Trump loses. Let's talk about what's already happening in this country. It's already happening. We have political prisoners. My entire life as an American, we've picked up the newspaper, or anymore, it's our phones, and we've looked at a country like Russia, and we said, well, Putin's locking up his political opponent. What a dirtball. Yeah, that happens here. It happened to the man we're about to talk to, a guy who did 4 months in prison and never said a freaking peep. I so respect that. Steve Bannon, host of The War Room, and maybe I should refer to him as political prisoner now instead of host. Steve, welcome out. How was the food?
Food is what you would imagine you've served your country. You know the kind of food you get served. So it's not the great. No, Jesse, did you ever think in serving your country and getting in politics when you did that we ever be in a situation that opposite politicians or opposite people working in media and politics would be put in a federal prison for a misdemeanor for months at a time? Did you ever think we'd come to that?
No, Steve, and I'll tell you something. It's funny you brought up that aspect of it because I have so many friends who I served in the Marines with and so many just GWAT veterans I'm friends with. Global War on Terror, I'm sorry for everybody. Global War on Terror friends I'm friends with. And Steve, it saddens me and sickens me how often I get a text message that's something along the lines of, I didn't serve for this. We didn't serve for this. What is this? Guys who have fought and bled for this country are so disenfranchised by just the last 4 years, Steve, by the kind of crap they pulled with you. Man, it sickens me. It does. It saddens me a great deal.
Well, you're the generation, you're the guys who got to turn this around because it's outrageous. You think of the battlefield casualties where we fought in the 21st century and to see what's happened in the last couple of years. And hey, if we don't represent tomorrow and actually turn out as first multipliers, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, that's a fact. All right, for those who don't know, everyone on this show, everyone who watches this show knows, but maybe there's someone who doesn't. What happened to you? How'd you end up in prison? What crime did you commit?
Well, it was a misdemeanor. First off, Danbury's been around since 1939. They've never had a misdemeanor ever in the prison. Obviously you got to be a felon. It's simple. They had a committee. That committee was illegally structured because it didn't have a ranking member, didn't have minority counsel. They wouldn't let Nancy Pelosi would not let the choices of Kevin McCarthy on at the time, which was Jim Jordan and Banks out of Indiana. She handpicked Cheney and others that were kind of her toadies to be on this. So it wasn't an official committee. And when I got subpoenaed, I had a lawyer, and the lawyer looked at it and said, the president said, exerted executive privilege, which is his right to do on any person who's giving him advice. He exerted executive privilege. Also, the structure of the committee wasn't legitimate. And so I didn't respond, and I'd notified them I didn't respond. They immediately voted and sent it to the Justice Department as a criminal complaint. Normally, these go over as civil complaints. They sent it as a criminal complaint. And for the first time in the history of this country, somebody was held in contempt of Congress as a misdemeanor and sentenced to 4 years in a federal prison. And so I just served the term in prison and just got out. But that's the chain of custody of that is Nancy Pelosi's illegitimate committee. And this is the same committee. People have to understand this hasn't gone away. This is what Jamie Raskin's going to bank on. The findings of that committee going to say, hey, Bannon went to prison. Navarro went to prison. That committee sent a criminal complaint to the Justice Department on Trump on 5 charges. A grand jury has indicted him on 3 of them. He's still in court in federal court. That hasn't been dismissed yet. That judge is going with the crazy Jack Smith is going forward. They're going to say on January 6th that Trump is ineligible because he's an insurrectionist. They're not. Jamie Raskin is blatant, and he said basically the same thing on Bill Maher the other night. They're not going to certify Trump's election. They're going to draw a line in the sand and say he's an insurrectionist, the people around him are insurrectionist, and we're not going to certify him. So don't think the January 6th committee has gone away. That's why it's got to be, we got to investigate it. We got to adjudicate it, not just for the J6 prisoners, many of whom I serve with in Danbury, but also the fact of they're trying to use it to crush President Trump.
Steve, as a side note, we'll get back to the Raskin stuff. How are the other January 6 guys doing? Obviously, everyone knows about Trump's trials, and Steve Bannon is a name everyone knows, so you're obviously going to get a lot more publicity, understandably so. But there are a lot of forgotten men and women who've been caught up by this evil Justice Department that we talk about on the show, and it breaks my heart. You know, nobody speaks up for them. Very few people do. How are they holding up?
They're very brave preachers, but they're not doing well. Remember, most of these people are working class or lower middle class. You can't make a living when you're in there. Their families are under tremendous stress. I don't think they're doing well at all. And a lot of these people, there was a guy in my cell block that was was in a cell a couple down from me that got 15 years. He was tied up. They said that he put bear spray out. It's all nonsense, but they gave him, I think, 10 to 15 years. There's others that have multiple years and they can't earn any income while in prison. And so their families are essentially destitute. The pressure on these guys has been tremendous. I know President Trump will review all this when he takes office, but no, the January 6 guys. And if you hear the horror stories of what they went through in pretrial confinement in DC, which is a rat's nest, if you hear what they did, and if it wasn't for MTG and Matt Gaetz and others that went there and tried to get them better treatment, it was horrible. This shows you how inhuman Merrick Garland and the Justice Department are. If you hear the stories of these people, you realize that Merrick Garland's people are some of the worst people on earth.
Steve, if we get a Trump victory tomorrow, you mentioned Merrick Garland. Obviously, there are a lot of agencies that need a lot of clean out, but there's nothing more important than cleaning out this disgusting DOJ. Is this something Trump is going to be able to tackle right away? Because he's going to have to, even if they certify him, the DOJ is going to come for him.
There's no doubt. I think you got to dual track this. Number one, look, in the first week or two of his second term, we hit the debt ceiling, the tax cuts reverse. We don't have a budget. Remember, I don't think they're going to allow an omnibus. Trump's not going to allow it. That's going to kick in. The government's going to run out of money. He has three major, massive financial issues that has to be dealt with right away. In addition, the deportation of 15 million people, starting with the criminals. So you have the border wall, you have this massive problem of 15 million illegal aliens in the country just on Biden's watch, and you got these major financial problems. He's got to get something done on DOJ. But I think the way he's got to do that is with Gaetz and Jordan and others, start the investigations in the House, particularly get into the DOJ. His attorney general, other people are strong. Read all these IG reports. The deconstruction of the FBI and the DOJ has to be done with complete transparency. The American people need to see exactly what happened. I think you redo a panel around J6 that has Democrats have a ranking member. They have a minority counsel that gets to see all the evidence, and we start to really adjudicate some of these issues in front of the American people. I think you dual track that. I think the financial, economic, geopolitical, and the sovereignty issues are so big. He's got to tackle those in the first 100 days.
Yeah, no question about it. Steve, what is your final message? I know you're a busy man. Before tomorrow night, what is your message to the American people?
It's just remember, they're never going to give up. We have to, step one, we've already cut out, they have no firewalls. The early voting could not have gone better for us. Tomorrow you have to represent as a force multiplier, bring as many people as you know. The House is almost as important as the presidency here. President Trump has to have a Republican House. We have to hold the House or pick up a couple of seats. Don't think this is going to be called early. This is going to take a while. You've got to hunker down. The team around President Trump on the legal side is 10 times better. President Trump has a lot of support. Just hunker down and understand we got to go through this process and then just have President Trump's back. This is going to be a long, tough fight. They're not going to just sit there and toss us the keys, but we have to win tomorrow. But the bigger numbers we put up outside the margin of outstanding votes on mail-in and other things will lead them to call it earlier and to us to get on actually getting certified, because they're going to fight his certification tooth and nail. Mark Elias and Jamie Raskin are going to fight a rearguard action here. They're not going to quit, and the only way we can get beyond that is put up as big a score as possible tomorrow.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.